What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Fantasy Flex podcast from the Action Network and Fantasy Labs. I'm your host, Chris Raybon, and this is your NFL Week 5 player projections episode. As always, I'm joined by one of the most accurate player projectors in the game, the odds maker, Sean Kerner. Sean, what's going on?
What's up? Can't believe it's already week 5, but something is happening this week where I actually love it. We have bye weeks.
Yeah, right.
I always feel like there's not enough time to dive into every matchup. So just having some relief of like 2 or 3 less matchups to look into really allows me to dive in, you as well, like dive in even more to these games. So I kind of love having these bye weeks, can like focus on these games more. Too bad, there's a handful of fantasy players that are out this week because of the bye weeks. But again, it makes us dive a little bit deeper into the player pool, things like that. But I love when bye weeks start.
Yeah, no, I think it's a pretty interesting week because you got bye weeks, you have some backfield situations in flux, some emerging rookie quarterbacks, and just a lot of interesting stuff going on this week, even though a couple of teams are off. So we'll jump into each position, our top 5, who we're high and low on, our props. Before we get into it, just want to quickly remind everyone all of our fantasy football content available right now over at FantasyLabs.com. You can find our award-winning rankings and projections, tools, and more. FantasyLabs.com. All right, quarterback top 5, week 5. Who you got?
Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels. That is a tier. They're all within like 0.1 points of each other. That's just how friggin' good Jaden Daniels is now. Then a pretty big drop-off. Brock Purdy, CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I got Jackson, Allen, Daniels, Purdy, Joe Burrow. But
nice.
It's not as actually for me. It's not a big drop off. I have Jackson almost a point higher than everyone else. But then Purdy and Burrow, they're right there. I mean, I might. It's maybe because it's early in the week and I have that Ravens Bengals game. I have it projected pretty high. I got to go look at that. But yeah, for right now, I like the matchup for Jackson. But Purdy, I mean, I feel like every week, I'm mad I didn't bet his. I feel like every week is just a passing yard over. Like every single week, the books. I think they're implying too much regression because like every week I look at his passing yards prop and I'm like over it by like 25. And I'm like, I must be bugging or something. Or maybe there's injuries or whatever. Juwan Jennings catches 80-yard passes and shit. So, I'm going to leave it this week. But Purdy is in a great matchup against Arizona. So I wouldn't, he's a deserving top 5 candidate. But who are you high on?
Who am I high on? Well, I mean, this might sound like I might be the one who's high right now, but I'm high on Trevor Lawrence, of all people. At home against the Colts, great matchup for him. But he's off to a rough start this year. The Jaguars are 0-4. He's been held below 200 yards in 3 of 4 games. Hasn't cleared 10 or more rushing yards in 3 or 4 games. But I think he could offer, sneaky quarterback 1 value this week. Like I said, this is a great matchup against the Colts. We saw Justin Fields just shred them apart this week for his best game of the season. The Jaguars have the 5th highest team total of the week. And Lawrence might be getting, his top tight end, Evan Ingram, back. Still think he should be throwing to Brian Thomas Jr. a ton. So he opens the week as my QB 12. Again, we have 4 teams on bye this week where 2 of those quarterbacks might have been ranked higher than Lawrence. So he's kind of getting a bump from that. But I think this is the week where if he can't produce this week, he's probably droppable if you're still in a deeper league and you have him. But I think that this is the week where he'll break out and have a pretty good game. So he's my QB 12 to open the week.
Whew, man. Yeah, I don't know. I have him QB 15, so I'm kind of in that same vicinity. Everyone's close, but I don't. Is he okay? I feel like we've been talking about this guy for years now. Where it's like, okay, he's getting a little unlucky. He's gonna break out any moment, but every time I watch the Jaguars every week, they just look listless. Like that. I don't know what it is. It's just something is.
But he
missing.
already got paid, so he better be good. Was he in the same draft class as Kyle Pitts? I feel like he's another guy we keep making excuses for, but I agree. Yeah, if you can't get it done this week, then it's not happening for him this year.
He's like Daniel Jones with good hair. I mean,
Wow.
Like, seriously, what is he
The
doing?
fire comps this week, yeah.
What is he doing that Daniel Jones isn't at this point? Like, just,
Yeah.
it's
Loaded with pass catching talent too. That is not an excuse
Yeah.
for him either.
Yeah. No, it's always a disappointment. It's getting frustrating at this point. Justin Fields for me, he is my QB6, just outside my top 5. Depending on where I end up with my game projection for that Bengals Ravens game, he might end up in my top 5. But Justin Fields, talked about him on the other pod, the waivers pod as well, but threw for over 300 last week. He's completing 70% of his passes. He's running. He might have to run more. I mean, all the Steelers running backs seem like they're banged up at this point. I think Patterson left the game. Warren's still banged up. Najee is kind of up and down. So I think Justin Fields continues to be the centerpiece of this offense. I think he's getting more comfortable throwing to George Pickens and throwing to Pat Freiermuth, the two best weapons on that offense. So I like Justin Fields. And Cowboys, we don't know what's going on with Micah Parsons. So good spot for Fields. Pittsburgh actually a home favorite against the Cowboys. So like the spot for Justin. Who are you low on?
I'm low on the other quarterback in that game, Dak Prescott, who opens week as my QB 16. This is just a tougher spot to trust Dak, as just the Cowboys offense and himself tend to be way better at home than on the road. So this is just a tough spot in Pittsburgh, and the Steelers have been using Joey Porter Jr. to really shadow top wide receivers. So, with the clear top wide receiver here in CeeDee Lamb, that could hurt them even more. Although I do think they'll be able to move him around enough to really avoid that much matchup if possible. But either way, Dak's more of a mid-range QB2. This is the kind of the problem of drafting him is there's going to be a lot of weeks where he has a tougher matchup where there's going to be guys widely available that, we're ranking higher than him, like a Justin Fields. So this is a week where if you have him, you probably have to bench him, use somebody else. Whereas, he's going to have better matchups at home where he could be a top 10 play. But this week, like I said, he's outside my top 15 since he's at Pittsburgh.
Oh, he's actually my QB 12, so I'm a little bit higher on him than you. I just have the Cowboys pass volume. Their pass rate over expected is pretty high. So I just have him throwing a lot every week. That tends to be how Dak gets there, right? It doesn't look pretty, but he throws a lot. But yeah, I definitely get it. I have a lot of respect for this Steeler defense, so he might end up a little bit lower by the end of the week.
Yeah.
For me, it's Kyler Murray. He's the ECR QB 6. He is my QB 10 at San Francisco. I'm not there with the consistency for Murray anymore. Sometimes he looks really good, and then you look up and he just doesn't have any stats. Like I thought he looked pretty good in the Detroit game.
Yeah.
And like 207 yards passing. He's been held to 207 or fewer 3 out of the 4 games. 1 passing touchdown in 3 of the 4 games. And, the rushing production, still no touchdowns on the ground. It's been pretty decent the first 3 games, 57, 59, 45. But then there's 3 rushing yards last week and 142 passing yards. I mean, this guy's just unreliable, and now you're going to San Francisco. I know the Niners defense isn't, at full strength and what it was in its, heyday, or it's what it is at its peak, but I still don't love this matchup for Kyler. It's just, something's another guy where it's like something never clicks fully with him. I thought maybe just kind of the injury derailed him last year, and he really hit his stride in this offense with Marvin Harrison. And you started to see glimpses in week 2 against the Rams, but turns out that was just because the Rams were just the Rams, super banged up on defense. But yeah, it hasn't been pretty. So he's still a top 10 guy, but he's a kind of a fringe guy. There's a chance that, you might want to look somewhere else depending on how the week shapes up.
Yeah, and this is all before Call of Duty comes out, which is typically when we could bank on, top 5 production from him.
Oh man, yeah. Don't love it. All right, quarterback prop. What do you got?
All right, this will be a fun one. I think you might have this close to a coin flip as well, but who's going to have more fantasy points this week? And, standard 4 points for passing touchdown type of leagues. Patrick Mahomes or Justin Fields?
Justin Fields.
Okay.
That's not even like. I mean, it's Patrick Mahomes. He's a beast, but I mean, yeah, I have Fields like
Where do you have
point over a point higher? So that's
a point higher. Wow.
I mean, in fantasy terms, that's
yeah. No, where do you have Mahomes ranked then? Because you said Fields was in your top 7.
Yeah, he's my QB6. Mahomes is my QB9.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I might actually move him down. Because I could see. I got Geno below him. He might need to jump up. So yeah,
I was considering like making Fields like a half-point favorite, but I felt it was easier just to go straight up for a potential sit-start decision. So you're saying start Fields over Mahomes?
You won your Mahomes under, right? Like he just finished under, right?
Last week? Yeah. I'm kind of with you. I've been projecting Mahomes pretty low now.
Yeah.
And now he's without Rashee Rice. So yeah, I'm low on Mahomes too. But I think there's somebody out there that has Patrick Mahomes. They're going to add Justin Fields this week, and they're going to think, am I really starting Justin Fields over Patrick Mahomes? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, I mean, New Orleans, like you mentioned, is a very good defense. I think you were talking about that on the waiver pod. So it's not even just – I mean, Dallas, under normal circumstances, I think would be a little more intimidating, but just the way things are kind of shaping up, especially with Micah Parsons is out, it's just got to go with Purdy. I mean, with Fields. Though it was encouraging to at least see Mahomes uncork the longest deep ball of his career to Xavier Worthy.
That was
I'll
not
take more
fun.
of that, please. I know. I was like, oh man, if Sean still hits this, that's how you know everything's going your way. and of course you got the what is it like? What was it 249? You had 245.
Yeah. Well, was that a touchdown early on? I mean, you have the under on a passing yards prop. You don't mind earlier production. You want them to get up, but the Chargers went up.
Yep.
By 10 points early?
Yep.
Yeah. Whew. I survived. I think I got lucky on that one, but I'll take it.
All right, running back, top 5, week 5. Who you got?
I haven't even looked yet. This is gonna be surprising for even me. Kyren Williams, number 1. Wow. Alvin Kamara, Jordan Mason, Derrick Henry, and Aaron Jones.
I got Jordan Mason, number 1, after Jeremy McNichols just ran wild on the supposedly improved Cardinal run defense. Him, number 1. Kyren, number 2. Pour one out for Blake Corum. Derek King, number 3. Kamara, number 4. And my guy, Kenny Walker, number 5. That's nice, updating for the Monday night just before we got on air.
Yeah.
He jumped up. What did he get? 3 touchdowns on that game against a very good defense.
Yeah, one of the most incredible, I guess it was a reception, but when Anzalone tried to tackle him and he rolled off of him like twice.
Yep.
He looked good. Kenneth Walker looked good. I did bet on his under rushing yards. But yeah, he crushed that. Looks as good as ever. Yeah, like he's my running back 8. So maybe once I update after that game, he could be my top 5 as well.
Yeah, I think we were talking about this preseason, but it's like he's just good, man. It's like I feel like you kind of fear that Algier thing happening with him and Charbonnet. And Charbonnet, he does mix in, but Kenny Walker's just he looks like the way Bijan should look more consistently, honestly.
Yep. Yeah, and that's why I was kind of pissed Charbonnet ended up in Seattle, because I'm like, the hell, Kenneth Walker's really good. We have one of the best backups now sitting behind Kenneth Walker. Kind of like the guy you just mentioned, Blake Corum, just rotting away on that depth chart. I wouldn't say it's over for him. If Kyren misses time, I'm guessing we'll see something annoying like Ronnie Rivers or Sean McVay will have Darrell Henderson Jr. come back out of retirement and spot start. Like McVay's going to do something infuriating, but there's still a shot that Blake Corum could have a spot start to rest the season. But yeah, pour one out for Blake Corum either way.
They'll trade Houston for Cam Akers back. And
my God,
Pierce gets healthy.
That's it right there. You nailed it. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Who are you? Who are you high on a running back?
I'm high on Chuba Hubbard again this week. It feels like I'm like his rank keeps going higher and higher in my projections every week. He's up to RB 11 now. Just continue to see his role grow last week. Had another 100+ yard rushing game and a score last week. And typically, whenever I see at Chicago, like last season, I would, really throttle down their efficiency. But this year, I don't know what's going on there, but their run defense has been a little bit more porous. They rank 30th in run defensive DVOA. So I'm expecting another solid game from Hubbard here. I guess the question is, like, what do you do with him long term? Because, Jonathan Brooks might be returning in a couple weeks. Who knows? But I don't even know if you should necessarily sell high on Hubbard. I think if you have him, you just kind of enjoy the ride. And if and when Brooks returns or makes his debut, we'll go from there. But I'm really liking what I see from Hubbard right now. And like I said, he's a low end RB1 for me this week.
Yeah, I expected this. We were talking about this all off season. Chuba Hubbard was back to own in Carolina. At this point, you can't really just bench him for Brooks, right? No. If you're Carolina, and we just got some word that Brooks isn't going to open his practice window yet. Yep. So, they're like, we talked about this. They're going to be in no rush to get this guy on the field. And now with Hubbard playing well, it's even more so. So I think. And Brooks,
when you were talking about that, Brooks was being drafted inside the top 30. When we knew he was missing at least 4 games. And again, I would say he's the best running back from this year's class, but it just might not come to fruition this year. So I agree. Like, if you have Hubbard, I don't know if you're going to get a fair price for him anyway. So people have been asking me about that. I would just write it out.
Sell Brooks before he comes back and fucking.
Well, what the hell are you doing with him? Anyway? You haven't listened to us.
If you got him stashed in IR, try to trade him, because he might end up like Blake Corum for all we know.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I would probably be interested in buying him at some point, but as of now, it's a little bit tougher sell. The other running back I'm high on, I'll make this quick. This might be a fresh wound for you, but Javonte Williams.
Oh my God! Tyler Beatty with the fumble and hurt himself. I hope he's okay.
Oh yeah, so I mean
that was brutal.
Yeah, that was brutal, and it was a very scary back injury. I hope he's okay. Seems like he'll miss this week, potentially longer. And apparently, according to Scott Hansen, it's pronounced bidet. That's
bidet.
Bidet. Well, that came from Tyler Bidet himself, so I'm going to start calling him Tyler Bidet. But once he left the game, the Broncos running game got back on track this week with Javonte leading the way. Ran for 77 yards. So with no real RB3 in the mix, with Estime on IR, this Blake Watson guy you keep talking about, I agree. I don't think he's going to see a touch this week. So it's going to be Javonte leading the way this week. They're slight home favorites this week against the Raiders. So Javonte opens the week as my RB24, assuming Bidet's out this week.
Nah, man. I just can't. I can't get behind Javonte still. He had 77 yards on 16 carries in that game, but that's his only good game of the past 15. I just feel like regression to the mean, and now I think he's gonna revert right back to being 11 for 17 or something like that.
That would be bad. But I mean,
I don't trust him. I don't trust it.
I
might just be salty because of the. I really don't. I was down on him. I wrote him up as a guy that I was down on heading into the year, and he really. I mean, even last week. I mean, what? It was no one was Bo Nix had negative passing yards. Okay, Javonte is gonna stack up some rushing yards, sure, but I think he's dicey. I would try to sell him if you can, honestly.
Oh yeah. I mean that would be an option. I'd maybe wait after this week. They do play the Raiders at home. The Raiders' run defense has been pretty shaky, so I agree. I don't think Javonte's now a league winner or anything. But in this RB3 flex range, there's just a lot of turnover and backups and things like that. So this is a rare occurrence for me too, that Javonte's even inside my top 30, let alone my top 25. So as of now, with my raw, initial spicy projections, he's my RB24.
That last game, he had 4.8 yards per carry. It was the first time in
Was that before his ACL tear?
First time in 14 games that he averaged over 4 yards a carry. He's been under 3.9. He's been under 3.9 in all the other games with he still hasn't scored a touchdown on the year. McLaughlin was getting goal line work.
The one knock is like probably not going to get easy touchdown scores. But volume is king. So give me
Fair.
15 inefficient rush attempts over like Zach Charbonnet's very solid 5 touches he's going to get this week.
Derrick Henry just one carry, first carry of the game, bang.
Oh my god.
16 fantasy points or something.
Yeah, he looks so good. The last 10,000-yard rusher ever, Derrick Henry.
For real. I am high on Kareem Hunt. He is my RB 16. He's the ECR 24, and I just think that he is taking over this backfield. I mean, we saw Carson Steele fumble and really not carry the ball after that. He is a fullback, and they tried with him, but the fact that they called up Hunt and released Keontae Ingram meant they really were envisioning a role for Kareem Hunt. It's because he's not a guy that's going to play special teams or anything like that. So this week, I think he just takes full control of that backfield from the jump. We're already seeing beat reports that he's likely to start, which, after he got 14 carries for 69 yards and 2 catches for 16, I think he's essentially in that Pacheco role. P. Ryan is in the McKinnon role, and Carson Steele just kind of be the change of pace, but I don't think they trust him. His second or third fumble loss this year?
At least second. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was second.
Maybe third.
It's I think Hunt is a play this week. I know New Orleans is a pretty good defense, but you're still a home favorite. You still got Patrick Mahomes and Xavier Worthy and Travis Kelce to worry about. So I like the spot for Hunt. And another guy that's popping in my model is DeAndre Swift as a top 15 running back. He was everyone was kind of down on him last week, and then they kind of switched it up. Waldron was taking advice from the players, and they switched their run scheme up a little bit, and Swift really got going. The run blocking was really good, especially down the stretch. And now they play this Carolina team that's missing its inside backers. Shaq Thompson got hurt, so I think this is going to be another good matchup on the ground for the Chicago Bears. They're a home favorite too, so everything we want in a running back. And Swift, it was, he was, even though it was like a 60-40 split passing down work with him and Roshan, he had 7 catches. Caleb Williams is really looking to him a little bit more, because you see when Caleb goes down the field, it's not as pretty all the time. He's still not on the same page with his receivers. I think he's going to take more time. So I think you're going to still see a lot of dump offs, but another good matchup on the ground for Swift. And he is an explosive guy. So like him as a top option this week with buys.
Yeah. Looks like Clyde Edwards-Helaire is expected to return this week. I'm with you being high on Kareem Hunt, but how do you think that kind of factors in? Does he kind of just take away the Samaje Perine, Carson Steele touches, or is he a threat to Hunt?
Yeah, I would think he starts out taking away the Steele touches, because remember down the stretch last year, especially into the playoffs, like they didn't even want to give Edwards-Helaire touches at all. Like it was. Mm-hmm. So I don't know I don't think they're super high on him, and who knows exactly, what's going on with that. But I don't think he just comes right back into a lead role, especially after Hunt played really well. Because when Steele played well, they're like, all right, we're gonna roll him until he screwed it up. So unless Hunt, could he screw it up? I guess, but he looked pretty good, and he's not a fullback, and he hasn't been on IR. So I think at least for this week, it's Hunt. But I think Edwards-Helaire kind of is at most like kind of what he was last year when Pacheco was healthy. All right. Who are you low on at running back?
I guess I'm low on Josh Jacobs. I have him at RB 16. ECR has him like inside of the top 10 still, but the Packers won't be as run heavy with Jordan Love back. but they're going to be able to provide Jacobs with more, touchdown upside. So it's kind of a wash with him. However, Emmanuel Wilson's still mixing in at a high enough rate to concern Jacobs managers,
Yeah.
Specifically, on passing downs, and that's certainly going to hurt him in a game script like this week. Weren't the Packers down 28-0 at one point? So
Yeah.
that's not going to be favorable for Jacobs. So maybe this week they're favorites against the Rams. That should be a more favorable game script for Jacobs. But either way, I think you've talked about it, that the Packers do like what they see in Emmanuel Wilson. LaFleur is always kind of favored having more committees. So it just, holding Jacobs back from being like a true top 10 back. So I just view him more as a solid RB2 option. Probably have to play him if you have him, but ECR still is kind of ranking him as a more of a top 10 option. So I guess he's probably the back I'm the lowest on compared to ECR.
Yeah, no, that's definitely fair. Wilson, it's more of like a 60-40 split these days. I mean, and that could always flip back, but Wilson has looked good. Jacobs has been kind of up and down. So yeah, I don't know that it's like a definite that Jacobs just gets back into that 80% plus role. I'm low on James Cook. He is the number 6 running back in ECR. He is more of like a mid-range RB2 for me. I keep waiting for him. It's kind of tough to predict because he is explosive and he could have a game like he did. Week 2 when he had the 3 touchdowns, but just his underlying usage, he's running around in about 50% of the dropbacks, which is okay. And he's getting about 12, 13 carries per game, about 60% of the carries in the backfield. So it's not amazing usage. He's gonna have to rely on efficiency. So yeah, he's very good player. He should be in the top, like ranked as a startable running back. But I think RB6 is a bit rich for him, especially because Houston has been good. They're allowing the fewest schedule adjusted targets to running backs at 3.7 and just 3.8 adjusted line yards as well. So they're playing good run defense and they're not allowing much to backs out of the backfield either. So not the easiest matchup. I think Cook it's going to be a little inconsistent this year because the usage is like they're mixing in Ray Davis consistently. No matter what kind of game script, and then Ty Johnson gets snaps as like a hurry up third down. So it's another one of those situations like you talked about with Denver's just getting out of now, where it's like 3 backs. It always just makes it a little tougher on the consistency for the top guy. And Zamir White, he is another guy. I tried not to start him this week because we've heard Raiders coaching staff talk about Alexander Madison and how they want to get him more touches this week, and White really hasn't been doing anything to earn a bigger workload. If anything, he's been kind of earning a demotion. So yeah, he's been inefficient. Madison's been a lot more efficient behind the same offensive line. White just 3.1 yards per carry on 49 carries this year, and Madison is at 5.1 on 17 carries. He's also averaging 11.4 a catch, while White is averaging 3.2 a catch. So yeah, I think it's any day now you're going to see Zamir White like 5 carries for 5 yards, and I just want to get ahead of that. So yeah, let's get off Zamir White this week.
Did you ever think the rest of your life you were going to be high on Alexander Madison again, or no?
Oh man, nah. Like after that was just ridiculous last year because it was at first he was just missing opportunities. Like he would get stuffed at the goal line, and then he started fumbling and dropping passes. It was like, oh man, and now he looks great again. It's like he just needs to be the RB2. He cannot. It's like teams that need to be like the Steelers. Yeah. They need to be an underdog. They, like when they're favorites, right, all hell breaks loose. But when they're an underdog, rah Tomlin spot.
Exactly.
Like, Madison he must be like a rah RB2. Like, all right, yeah, you bench me, why don't you?
Zach Charbonnet syndrome, always way better as the backup.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Charbonnet gets in the starting role. It's like 20 carries for 15 yards, 2 touchdowns. All right. All right.
What do you got for this prop? Like, you have a million different options this week. This is wild.
Breece Hall versus Braylon Allen. I'm gonna set rushing and receiving yards.
Okay.
I'll make Brees minus 32.5.
Ooh, I had it around 35. I'm gonna have to roll Brees here. I think potential trailing game script gets him more receiving work, which gives him the slight edge here. But I think that's a great line.
Yeah, I mean, that you look up and we love Braylon Allen coming into the year, but
Yeah,
now you look up and it's like another guy who's supposed to be a just no questions asked top 5 running back is like he's outside of my top 5 this week. Yours too, right?
I was gonna say, what the hell? He's my RB7, so he's outside your top 5. Where do you have him?
RB8. So not too far out, but yeah, it's not like what we drafted him for.
Right. It is a tougher matchup. You know, the Vikings defense is the real deal, but either way, like, yeah, you drafted him. Well, I guess people that took McCaffrey would beg to differ, but you know, he was usually the second running back off the board, and just not really having the consistent week to week production. Part of that is, you know, Braylon Allen being really good. But yeah, either way, this is a tough week. He's outside of my top 5 as well.
He's kind of reminded me of remember when that Saquon Barkley went through that phase where it was like 15 carries for 13 yards type thing? Like Brees had 10 for 4 last week. He's been under 3.5 in 3 of the 4 games. Man, that's I feel like he has too many of those games. What's up?
And I'm just saying, like, we could, you know, it was the Giants' shitty offensive line. No one else is stealing touches, so got to roll with Barkley. But Braylon Allen's doing just fine behind this offensive line.
Yeah, he's at 4.8. Brees is at 3.1 yards a carry, so not ideal. And the success rate is really what stands out. Braylon Allen on 27 carries, a 63% success rate. Brees Hall, a 36% success rate. Like he's getting close to doubling them up, and more successful through the air too, 56 to 42%, which is crazy.
Yep.
All right, wide receiver top 5 for week 5. What do you got?
I got Malik Neighbors, assuming he plays this week. Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Nico Collins, and Jamar Chase.
I got Lamb, Jefferson, Chase, Neighbors, and Nico Collins. So yeah, same top 5. But yeah, need Neighbors. If Neighbors gets cleared, he might jump up too. Although I mean, they're all going against pretty good cornerbacks, I guess, right? Because pretty much.
Yeah, all of them.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Who are you high on?
Dontavian Wicks opens the week as my wide receiver 20. He's a guy that just gets a huge boost with Jordan Love back and an additional boost with Christian Watson likely out this week. So I think for now we can bank on Wicks to see a routes run rate in the 85, maybe 90% range, where he's so good that like he's going to produce wide receiver 2 numbers if you get that kind of playing time like we saw last week. And this is great spot against the Rams. I still think the Packers are going to throw for more than 250 yards here. So love Wicks this week and going forward. Even when Watson comes back, I think Wicks is going to ball out enough that it's going to be really hard to play him less than 60% of, you know, dropbacks going forward. Another wide receiver I love that he's inside my top 30 this week is Brian Thomas Jr. You know, despite Trevor Lawrence struggling a bit, like I mentioned at the top, you know, BTJ's still been posting solid numbers. Last week, 6 catches, 86 yards, and a touchdown. He even added a run for 13 yards. So even though his playing time's not where I'd like it to be, he's still hovering just below 80% routes run rate. You know, Doug Peterson's saying they still need to keep throwing him the ball. So big believer in his talent. I think Trevor Lawrence can't get any worse. So, you know, the needle's still pointing up for Thomas Jr. Rest of the season. So I'm projecting Evan Ingram to return this week and be fully healthy, and I'm still getting Thomas Jr. as my wide receiver 27, just because this is a great spot against the Colts here.
Yeah, no, Thomas is legit. I think his playing time will tick up as the season progresses. I'm on a rookie as well. Xavier Legette is into my top 30 and in my initial rankings, but I'm gonna roll with it because I really like the talent. You figured once Adam Thielen went on IR that Legette was going to see a major bump in playing time. Him, Mingo, and Deontay Johnson were all just above 85% routes run against the Bengals. And Legette, he even though Johnson, had a great game, Legette, kind of made himself known with a touchdown and 6 catches, 66 yards on 10 targets. He also ran the ball twice, which, always can add a little extra upside to wide receivers. More and more we're seeing teams give at least 1 or 2 carries a game to wide receivers. So the fact that we're getting some of those is good news as well. So the game before that, he had 2 catches for 42 yards, so average 21 per catch. So like where he's trending, and I think Carolina, Tommy Tremble. I mean, he was on the field like 90% of the time. I don't think he got a target last week. And Mingo, he's not really going to be a high volume guy, so it's Deontay, and there's room for one more, especially with the red rifle, just tossing it all around out there. Their pass rate has gone up as well compared to Bryce Young. So like Xavier Legette, I think he continues to break out. Another guy I like is Jerry Jeudy. He's just inside my top 30 as well, and that's with projecting Njoku to return, and that's because you're going against Washington. Washington is one of the worst defenses against wide receivers, and Jerry Jeudy, his target per route rate is only 2% lower than Amari Cooper. So everyone is going to be high on Amari Cooper this week, but Judy's running pretty much just as many routes now. Cooper's at 94%, Jeudy 92% of the last 3 weeks. So Jeudy easily could outproduce Amari Cooper this week. And Elijah Moore has been the one taking a little bit of a hit in route participation, and that could even be a bigger hit if Njoku returns. So like Jeudy against this Washington defense. Who are you low on at wide receiver this week?
I'm low on Roma Dunze. Another just very talented rookie. I think he's going to become a stud eventually, but his projection does take quite a bit of a hit with Keenan Allen, back in the lineup. It was always going to be tough for him to draw targets with DJ Moore, Keenan Allen there, and Cole Kmet's been stepping up. So, coming off a game where he just had 1 catch for 10 yards against the Rams, this is another spot where the Bears will probably be a little bit more run heavy at home against the Panthers, and we saw the Bears run game kind of come to life last week. So probably gonna keep that rolling this week. So you can't trust Adunze in your lineups. He's my wide receiver 54. You can't drop him either, because if DJ Moore or Keenan Allen go down, or this passing offense just starts clicking, he could become a wide receiver 3 or better. So he's just high upside bench stash for now. And the other guy I'm low on technically is Juwan Jennings, coming off another just really good game. 3 catches, 88 yards. I would just be careful treating him like a must-start wide receiver right now, just considering Debo returned, looked close to 100%. Kittle returned, but got banged up, but he's considered day-to-day. So when all of their pass catchers are healthy, it's just going to be tough for Jennings to offer consistent wide receiver 3 production. But like you said, maybe we're just setting Brock Purdy's passing projection too low every week, which I agree with. Yeah, that's part of it. But when it comes to Jennings, I'm actually high on him long-term, because he's being so productive that I think he does kind of lower my projections for Ayuk, Debo, and Kittle. So it's just kind of one more guy in the mix, and an offense that, is pretty run heavy. But just be careful treating Jennings like just a must-start wide receiver 3 this week. I still think he's more of a wide receiver 4. But if you're kind of forced to use him, go for it. I still think he's solid. He's looking really good these past few weeks. But just he's a guy, when it comes to my projections, got to be careful treating him like a must-start.
Yeah. I mean, he's looking better and better. That's why I was never really blown away with Pearsall, even before the unfortunate shooting incident occurred, because they had just re-signed Jennings to a contract, and coming off that postseason that he had, I just figured that he was going to be a staple in that offense. So it was, and unless they traded Debo or Ayuk, which didn't end up happening, that's kind of going to be their 3. So yeah, they I wonder if they're going to start just being a little bit more pass heavy, because I mean, if McCaffrey is nowhere to be found, you're just going to keep giving Jordan Mason 25 carries a week. That's probably not ideal if you want to make a long, deep playoff run. So it's going to be interesting to watch the Niners. But yeah, I bet this won't be the last time we have like Purdy in our top 5. But yeah, I'm curious to see where Jennings ends up, because he is definitely now a little bit too efficient, killing Ayuk really. Because Debo's going to be Debo, but
true.
I am low on Tyreek Hill. Another guy where it's like, all right, we keep hoping for the best, and he's just unproductive without Tua Tagovailoa in the lineup. And he is just outside my top 36 this week. He's the ECR wide receiver 23. But I mean, my Tyler Huntley projection, or whoever starts, who knows who will be this
Tim
week.
Boyle.
But yeah, definitely well under 200 yards. So that just doesn't leave a ton for anyone in that Dolphin offense. And Tyreek and Waddle, they've kind of checked in and out of the game. They usually aren't like 90% snap guys. They're usually in the high 70s or maybe the low 80s. And this year they haven't even hit 80%. Oh, he'll hit it once. He'll hit 80% route rate in week 1, 82%, then 67, 74, 75. Waddle, none. So both of them I'm low on. Tyreek's my wide receiver 38. Waddle is my wide receiver 50. So not really loving them in what's projected to be a super low scoring game against the New England Patriots.
Wasn't Tim Boyle one of those quarterbacks I offered you last year for over under a half more career starts?
Well, I know Trey Lance. I think it was Trey Lance. I don't know.
Trey Lance is certainly one of them. I think we had a Mac Jones prop. It was over a half a start, but I think Tim Boyle, I was joking, like he always just ends up in these situations where he ends up getting a start. I don't know how, but we could see one soon.
And I mean, Mac Jones might get a start before week 10 too. At this rate with Trevor Lawrence.
Are you talking about a benching or an injury?
A benching.
Wow.
Like I've heard whispers. Like I don't think it happens, but it's in the universe, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, who gets benched first, Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson? Which $250 million quarterback?
Because Deshaun Watson is like it seems more like a mandate from the owner, like to just roll with him, do what they need to do to get the offense around him, and honestly, Watson he's a little more volatile. Like he has these terrible moments, but sometimes he looks decent. Whereas Lawrence, it's just always kind of meh. Like I don't know, man.
That would be wild if he gets. Yeah, something might be up, but if he gets benched, that would just be wild, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I heard whispers. I don't really put much stock into it, but the fact that we're even like it's even on the table, like somebody's even like putting that out there, period, is even if it's clickbait or just a lie. But the fact that it's out there is not good news. Like Watson, we kind of knew what it was, and he's still starting. So he just comes out for quarterback sneaks. That's all. We have receiver prop. That is you. Where are you going?
Yep. Let's go with Jordan Whittington of the Rams. Receptions prop. You're on your own to figure out what happens with Demarcus Robinson. Probably doesn't really matter too much to this, but this is live no matter what when it comes to Demarcus Robinson. 4.5.
I'm gonna go under just because I cannot predict this Ram. Like
anything
usage from week to week, and I think they're gonna try to be run heavy as long as they can. So like I don't know. It just seems like. I mean, Tutu, I guess, has been consistent, but even Whittington, like the game we thought he was going to have a better game, he was like a 40%, 35% route rate, and then he bumped up this week. So 4.5, it's like Debo. I bet under Debo 4.5 last week, and I think he only finished with 3. So like these guys, 4.5 is just 5 receptions is a lot of receptions. So yeah, I'm gonna go under. I don't feel great about it, but still a pretty volatile situation in my opinion. But I do like Whittington. I think that was always the guy that's kind of the unknown that looked really good.
Yep. No, I know I'm floating an very aggressive number. And I agree. You can't really predict anything other than Kyren Williams getting at least 20 carries this week. Outside of that, it's kind of up in the air, but I don't mind being on the over here. I kind of like it.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure you kind of been noticing that in general. I think reception props are getting a little more interesting because the league average for yards per completion this year is down to 10.6. So it means like more receptions per receiving yard, essentially. So I've still been seeing a value on a lot of unders, but just kind of interesting that usually yards per completion is around 11, but everyone's just throwing short this year. So. All right, tight end. Top 5, who you got?
Travis Kelce, welcome back to the top slot. I feel like every time he drops below number 1, he goes off. So he's my number 1. Then I got Trey McBride, Jake Ferguson, George Kittle, and Dalton Kincaid.
Yeah, I got Kelce number 1, and then Kittle number 2, McBride number 3, Ferguson number 4, and Brock Bowers number 5. I don't feel great about that. Might have to switch it with Kincaid, but then both of them have been kind of disappointing.
Yeah. Brock Bowers number 5. Like, how are you projecting Devontae Adams and Michael Mayer to get there? Oh, out traded?
Both.
And
no. They said Adams is a multi-week, and then Mayer, they said he's going to continue to be out for personal reasons. That's just what I'm hearing.
So Adams and Mayer very likely out again this week?
Yes. From what I know, as we record this on early Tuesday, yes. That's
okay. Then he'd probably be in my top 5. Although, what's with the 1 catch for 2 yards last week with everybody out?
Yeah, I mean, we knew tight end was going to be a dumpster fire when Brock Bowers was like the TE10 in draft rankings. So it was like, I mean, he's talented, but it is the Raiders, and they did have they had all their gadget players rushing touchdowns, and Brock Bowers can't even get 2 catches. Like, go figure. John Samuel Schenker. Next thing you know, he'll be catching passes over Bowers. Like who was it? Blake Whiteheart. Vulture Njoku this week or something.
Who's it? Cole Featheringham.
Fotheringham?
Like Where the hell is that guy?
I think I don't think he's on the practice squad still. I don't even know. But they called up Schenker. Not Fotheringham if he's even there.
Or some Jesper Horsted. Yeah, let's get some Jesper Horsted back. Yeah. Showdown slate hero.
Zach Gentry, baby.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, no, Fotheringham is a free agent. So I guess he's not on the Raiders anymore. Yeah, this is what tight end has come to.
Yeah.
We're talking about Cole Fotheringham. Who are you high on at tight end this week?
Tucker Kraft, just like you. Yep. He's inside my top 10. He's my tight end 9 right now. Just continuing to operate as the Packers' clear lead tight end. Luke Musgrave, very talented guy, but just as of now, he's the number 2 tight end. So, Kraft saw a season high, actually, routes run rate last week at 86%, cashed in with 6 catches, 53 yards, and a touchdown. He's just yet another player that gets a massive boost with Jordan Love back under center, and gets a slight boost with Christian Watson, likely out this week and beyond. Has a great matchup this week against the Rams. So he's just a guy that just, with the position being in constant flux, he's just solidly cranking out production. And I was thinking about all these Packer guys I'm high on this week, Kraft included. Like I almost think of them as like the 49ers right now, where Jaden Reed basically Deebo Samuel. I think Dontavian Wicks is essentially Brandon Ayuk, and Tucker Kraft is slowly becoming George Kittle. So the needle is pointing up for Kraft. I think if you're looking for more of a long-term solution, I think Kraft could be the guy. So I'm very high on Kraft this week and rest of season.
I mean, knowing our luck in fantasy, like just with this dumpster fire, Luke Musgrave will run like 90% routes, and Kraft will be like 42 next week. Like that's how it's been going. But no, I like him too. He's a top 10 tight end for me as well. And then another one right there is Tyler Conklin for me. And I mean, this is just where we are at tight end. But Conklin's been running a route on 90% of Aaron Rodgers' dropbacks, and the Vikings are allowing the third most schedule adjusted targets per game to tight ends according to FTN. So decent matchup. And I mean, that's really all I got to say about that. It's you're getting routes. That's what we need at the tight end position. And excuse me, no one really runs a 90% route rate at the tight end position. Like Kelsey's like close to that some weeks, and Goddard when everyone was out was there a couple of weeks, but Conklin's top of the league for tight ends in route rate. So I got to roll with him. He's my tight end 10 right now. Who are you low on the tight end?
Oh boy, Kyle Pitts is down to tight end 11 for me, and it's really just getting harder and harder to come up with excuses for Pitts because he is seeing a healthy routes run rate around 80% on the season. The Falcons are passing more. He's still just not drawing as many targets as you'd like to see, and he just hasn't looked as explosive as he has in the past when he wasn't getting opportunities. So just with everything in flux, with the position being a dumpster fire, it's a shame he can't be a top 3 tight end in this environment. So, Mark Andrews is droppable at this point, in my opinion. He's below Isaiah Likely. Pitts, I don't think he's droppable. I think you drafted him. You spent pretty high draft capital on him. You're just rolling with him. You're just disappointed that you're having to play him this week. I don't think he's droppable yet. But yeah, he's a guy where until we see any signs of life, he's probably going to be outside of my top 10 for the foreseeable future. But sure enough, he could bounce back this week or in the next couple weeks. But just as of now, I just haven't been liking what I've seen with him, with the target rate or visually, just watching film. So he's a guy that I'm a bit lower on him. And I said before this season started, this is actually the first year I was okay drafting him at ADP. But, as of now, he's looking like a disappointment again this year.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be the year, Kirk Cousins, he's not coming out. He's, like you said, the route rate is healthy, but he's starting to decrease in the route rate a little bit. I guess they don't like his blocking, and he was supposed to just be at receiver when he is not. Like, he doesn't even need to be the inline tight end. They paid big money to Charlie Warner. They got the whole 49er backup platoon out there, and somehow Pitts is still not producing. It's not Ray McLeod and Darnell Mooney are both just blowing him away.
Yeah. Well, I guess
out of the water.
The silver lining is Kyle Pitts is still only 21 years old, right? So we still have time.
What?
I'm kidding. He's like he's still only like 23, but that's always
I think is he 24? Oh no, he still is 23. He turns 24.
He's still younger.
He turns 24. Yeah.
He's still younger for what a fourth year player, but still, I digress.
Oh man, yeah, it's ugly. I guess I'm low on Mark Andrews. He's got one target in back-to-back games. Like you said, probably droppable. I mean, when he blows up, he'll probably have a big game because, kind of be like Kelsey. It'll be like, all right, he's fine. We told you. But the fact that we have to figure out when that's going to be is problematic. There's just a lot of tight ends that are running a lot more routes. Talked about Conklin. You mentioned Colby Parkinson. There's Hunter Henry, Dalton Schultz, just Zach Ertz, just so many tight ends that are seeing more playing, even likely seeing more playing time at this point than Mark Andrews. So it's really tough. You're just he's turned into a dart throw, which is ridiculous for a guy who's drafted in the top 5. But I think there are more higher floor tight ends this week. If you're an underdog, maybe I guess trot him out there. Cincinnati, the total was 51, but it's ugly. I mean, sick blocks, right? It's you gotta he's throwing some sick blocks for the king. That's about all he's doing. Prop. I'm actually gonna go with the two guys we talked about. Kyle Pitts versus Mark Andrews. Let's go receiving yards. I'll give Kyle Pitts Kyle Pitts minus 8.5.
That's a good line. I'll take Kyle Pitts though. You had mentioned Mark Andrews has a target in each of the last 2 games. He didn't catch either one, so unfortunately, targets don't matter in fantasy. But yeah, Mark Andrews, like I was complaining about Kyle Pitts. That's a different kind of rock bottom. Mark Andrews has hit the rock bottom. Like this is so bad. And I was saying in my tiers last week, I don't know if you could drop him quite yet. He's getting there, but you kind of hope for him to have a good game and then trade him away, and then he posts another goose egg. So, if you have Mark Andrews, I don't know what to tell you, man. You kind of need Isaiah Likely to miss time in order to consider him. But this is a whole other level of rock bottom. So yeah, after all that, just give me Kyle Pitts minus 8.5. It's rough though.
Yeah, I mean they both goose egged last week, right? It's nuts.
Yeah. Yes.
Nuts. Andrews 2 weeks in a row
Insane.
though. Pitts had 2 for 59 the week before that.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
not much before that either. But
nope. All right, that's going to do it for our Week 5 player projections episode here on the Fantasy Flex. Be sure to subscribe to the Fantasy Flex podcast wherever you listen so you don't miss an episode all season long. FantasyLabs.com for all of our fantasy football content, award-winning rankings, and projections. You can use promo code FLEX40, FLEX40, for $40 off right now. You can find Sean on X at _oddsmaker. I'm at Chris Raybon. We're at the same handles on the free award-winning Action Network app. Until next time, let's get this money.